Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. My name is Denise Mosley. For those of you who I haven't met, brand new marketing director at PBT. Excited to welcome you to our 22-23 season announcement. I want to thank all of our supporters who are here today, our media partners who are here. We are so excited to work with you. And I want to also thank our wonderful choreographers, who Susan will be speaking more about, who are featured on the screens today. They're joining us from near and far. And so without further ado, I'm actually going to bring up our executive director, Mr. Harris Ferris. Thank you again for being here.
Thank you, Denise, and Denise's outstanding marketing team that'll make sure this season is a triumph. Once again, 5 pieces never before seen in Pittsburgh, 2 full lengths, and a whole new look at PBT. Candace Baranski from Highmark, it's great to see you here. Thank you for your sponsorship. Charles Denman is here. He's our concert master for our orchestra. 2 of these programs will be with live orchestra, which is a real treat. But the best part of this season is that Susan Jaffe's first foray as a full season planned by Susan, and you can already see the vibrant, energetic look that PBT will be displaying on stage. So I look forward to, and this is a hybrid concert, press conference, so there's a lot of people that'll be watching this later. So thanks for being here in person, and hello to all the people that are watching by camera. Susan Jaffe.
It's so nice to see all of you here today, and also I'm happy to see our gorgeous dancers, which we'll be talking to them about, asking them some questions. So I just wanted to sort of share with you the key attributes to our 22-23 season. I like to call it fresh, bold, challenging, classical, and provocative. It is a mixture of classical and contemporary works all throughout the season. So you're going to get from very, very long ago all the way to the present moment of choreographic experience throughout the entire year. And we also have, it's pretty much a show for everyone, from family-friendly, sensory-friendly, all the way to our LGBTQ communities. So it really covers a full array of everybody, as we are very much attuned to IDEA and inclusion here at Pittsburgh Ballet Theater. So we start with Storytelling in Motion, which is at the August Wilson Center, and that is from October 6th through the 9th. And these works are, actually a couple of these works are from European choreographers that most of the United States doesn't really see. We start with Nacho Duato's Duende, and Duende means elf. And actually this was created in 1991. And 2 years ago, the dancers were ready to dance Duende, and then a week later, the country shut down. And so it's a gorgeous piece, and I really wanted to bring it back. And since they had already rehearsed it and had prepared, I really wanted to bring this back. And I'll talk a little bit more about Nacho. He is the artistic director of Berlin State Ballet. And I first met him in somewhere in the early 2000s when he did a piece for American Ballet Theater. So gorgeous, gorgeous piece. The next work is a piece, and you'll get to hear from Helen Pickett. It's called The Exiled. I saw this work in Atlanta probably 5-ish, 6-ish years ago, and thought it was spectacular. It's a combination of narration, so the dancers are speaking, and ballet, and it's behind a plexiglass wall, and I'm going to let Helen share the rest of that, but this is an award-winning piece. I think it was 2014 it won its award for Best Choreography. Then the last work is called, I'm going to ruin the name, Alrededor no hay nada, which means around there is nothing. And this is by a choreographer named Goyo Montero. He is the artistic director of Ballet Nuremberg. And I saw his work at the Prix de Lausanne several years ago, and I thought it was one of the most spectacular things I have seen, and not many, in fact, I think only one piece of Goyo's work has been seen here in the United States, so I'm very, very excited to bring it to Pittsburgh. Then we move on to Terrence S. Orr's beloved rendition of the Nutcracker. That's from December 9th through the 28th. And again, to thank our sponsors, Highmark, Clearview, and Giant Eagle for their generous support of this production. This is also a sensory-friendly performance is included in this, and I got to experience that this past season, and it was so joyful. I really enjoyed that show, and the dancers do too, I know. Then we move on to February 10th through 12th at the Benedum with Dracula. So this work, and you'll get to hear from Michael Pink, is really the novel on the stage. There's no fluff around this ballet. It is absolutely aligned with the story, and it's spine-chilling, and I'll talk a little bit more about that as we progress through this. But it is the Bram Stoker's novel. Then we move on to the master's program. That's April 14th through the 16th. And this one is, to me, is filled with all of the masters, many of the masters, which is Christopher Wilden, who is probably one of the biggest names in ballet today for ballet choreography. And we're doing his work called Polyphonia, and that's really his signature work. And we're extraordinarily lucky to have it. It's also deathly difficult. Don't tell the dancers, though. And then the middle piece is a piece by a choreographer who's a resident choreographer of the Boston Ballet. His name is Yorma Aylo. And I'll explain a little bit more about, actually I wrote some stuff about his work, which is really a wonderful description. So this is what they say about Yorma. Aylo has become one of the most extraordinary choreographic voices in the industry. His style is distinct, and a daring physicality infiltrates all his works, characterized by movements that swivel precariously off-kilter, only to resume balance with total grace and control. So that's Yorma Aylo. And the last work on the program is George Balanchine's, the father of American classical ballet, George Balanchine's Theme and Variations. So if the dancers have the stamina to get through that program, they can pretty much do anything. And then lastly, we will be finishing the season with Ronald Hines, and you'll get to meet him and speak to him, his Sleeping Beauty. And I actually danced this a long time ago, Ronnie, long time ago.
Not so long, yesterday.
Yesterday, I danced it yesterday at the English National Ballet. And he's done Coppelia, the Nutcracker, the Sleeping Beauty, the Merry Widow, which I also danced one of his works at American Ballet Theater. And actually that's all over Europe. And this is the most classical ballet in the ballet canon, and absolutely gorgeous to Tchaikovsky's score. So that is sort of the whole overview of the season. And now I would like to bring the dancers up to just talk with us a little bit. So these are the costumes created by our former costumer, Janet Campbell. And is this the corps de ballet or the soloist? The corps de ballet's colors, and they're all a little bit different. The colors are a little bit different. And so this will be a debut for these costumes, which I'm so excited. And turn around, I just want to show the back. I want Janet to make me this jacket that I get to wear at a gala somewhere, because I'm going to just have to have that one. And then, of course, this gorgeous tutu. So I wanted to ask the dancers a few questions about this up-and-coming season that you just heard about. So what are the challenges? Well, let me start with Tori. What are the challenges and opportunities do these shows present to you?
I think that it's going to be really, I think it's going to be really challenging doing the master's program. Like you said, that's a lot of dancing and a lot of very difficult dancing, but I think it pushes us even more, and it's exciting to just keep growing as a dancer through things like that.
Yes, thank you. And Sam?
I definitely think one of the biggest challenges will be the vast array of different works that we have this season. You know, it can be rather difficult to go from classical works to contemporary works, but in the end, it just makes you a more versatile dancer.
Yes.
And I think it also proves that the audience can connect to anything that we will present to them because there is a vast array of different choreography and choreographers.
Yes, I agree. I agree. What distinguishes this season from some of the other seasons that you have done in the past? Is it probably, I expect, the array of pieces, but I'll let you answer that.
Yeah, well, I think the biggest difference is, you know, I'm still fairly new to the company, so it won't be a COVID season, which will be nice. But yes, I think, like you said, the vast array of choreography and choreographers, I think will really be a highlight this season.
I think what's really interesting is that we're doing works that we've done before, like Sleeping Beauty and Dracula, but not by the same choreographers, which is like really fun for us as dancers to experience different versions of things and kind of be like, oh, I really like this part of this one, or oh, this shows me that I didn't like that part of that one so much. So that'll be really different for us, which is really cool.
Different interpretations. Yeah. That's so true. So this, and you have been introduced to this over the course of this past year and a half, working with new choreographers. And so what is that like to adapt when you're walking into a room with a new choreographer and to adapt, you know, your movement quality with that choreographer, and also thinking about you have to put your point shoes on the next hour or stand up and do a classical variation the next hour, which is, I think, one of the most challenging things for a dancer. I'd just love to hear your thoughts about that.
Yeah, I think we definitely got a feel for that at the beginning of this season, working with Helen, doing this amazing dynamic piece, doing pedal, and then doing Jennifer Archibald's piece, which was very different, and then slapping point shoes on and doing classical diamonds. And it does, like Sam said, it makes you such a strong dancer, and it also makes you like really appreciative of being here and being able to do the works that we do, which is really great.
Yeah, I agree with everything Tori said. I also think that, you know, just working with a ton of different choreographers, you eventually learn how to adapt, and then you learn how to adapt pretty quickly. So it's definitely very hard at first, but I think you just have to be patient with yourself and just understand that it's a learning process. And then eventually you're just able to adapt very quickly.
Yes, thank you. You know, this just reminds me, years ago I was guesting in the Royal Danish Ballet in Copenhagen, and there was this gorgeous ballerina teaching class, and she had point shoes on, and she was probably my age now, and she had point shoes on, and still in a leotard and tights. It was amazing. And she did a plie up to a releve without a bar, and actually she didn't even have a plie, she just rolled up to point. And so afterwards, and she was a Balanchine ballerina, and I said to her, how did you do that? And she said, well, Balanchine taught that to us when we were young, and we didn't know any better, so we just did it. And so that's sort of when you are introduced to new movement and new pathways, your body just becomes so much more sophisticated in all the different ways that a body and emotion and velocity can move. And so that really creates the finely tuned dancer that PBT is becoming and has been in the past as well. So thank you very much, dancer. We really appreciate your time and to be here and dressed up so beautifully, and may we all.
Thank you.
So we are going to move on to our choreographers. So I'd like to first speak with Ronald, and I just want to tell you a little bit of the background about Ronald Hines. So he was born in London. He joined the Royal Ballet in 1951. Then he was promoted to the rank of principal dancer. and dances extensive repertory of classical and dramatic roles, oftentimes partnering with ballerinas such as Margot Fonteyn. He also was the director of Munich State Opera Ballet for 5 years, and he's choreographed extensively in the United States, American Ballet Theater, Houston Ballet, Ballet West, Tulsa Ballet Theater, as well as all over Europe. And I just wanted to give you a little thing written about his Sleeping Beauty, because it's just a beautiful way to describe it. The review says, Sleeping Beauty is a ballet that packs an emotional punch. It is Tchaikovsky's longest ballet, and dancers must have a large reserve of stamina to make it through the performance. In this version, the drama is palpable, but so is the romance. When it first debuted in St. Petersburg with the choreography by Marius Petipa, The Sleeping Beauty did not strike a chord with the Russian audiences, but more than a century later, it is one of the most popular ballets in the world. The music is classic, but this production is modernized by using the choreography of Ronald Hines, who in 1993 created new choreography after Marius Petipa for the English National Ballet. And although this is a fantasy that takes a trip back to the land of the kings and queens, the costumes, stage design, and lighting are refreshed by talented designers, and including costume design by Peter Docherty and lighting by Rico Chiarelli. So, Ronnie, I'd love to ask you a few questions about, well, first of all, I'd like to ask you, how did you get into ballet?
Oh my God. Well, you mentioned Tchaikovsky. A young boy with my two brothers, whenever they were playing orchestral music on the radio, or in fact it was called the wireless in those days, we loved it. And when we heard Swan Lake played, we were ecstatic. And that planted the seed. And one day I thought, I wonder what Swan Lake looks like. But I went along to the then Sadler's Wells Ballet, which became the Royal Ballet, and saw the second act of Swan Lake with Margot Fonteyn and Robert Helpman in a mixed program. And on the other side of the spectrum, it was Frederick Ashton's Facade, which is vaguely comic and it's been going for years. And also a Helpman ballet called Miracle in the Ball, which was very aggressive, a wonderful dark score by Arthur Bliss. And it was Helpman's choreography. And I thought, this is not like Swan Lake, this is something different, it's wonderful. Unfortunately, one of the characters in the ballet was called the prostitute. Well, I think I was 14 at the time, so I dare not take the program home and show my parents. I would have been banned forever for going to the... But it continued. And then I just felt I wanted to dance. So I approached the director of the Ballet Rambert, Dame Marie Rambert, and she said, yes, can you point your feet? I said, well, sort of. She said, do you know what's an arabesque? I said, she said, show me. She said, jump. I jumped. She said, jump higher. I jumped higher. Then she said, now jump higher and point your feet. After that, that was my audition. Just really asking to go to one class a week to learn something about dance. She said, I think you could be a dancer. Now, of course, this was in 1946. The war had just finished and most of the male dancers were still in the forces. Anyone who walked into the old Mercury Theatre, the home of Rambert, wearing trousers, stood a chance of being accepted to be a dancer. So that was it. Then my parents didn't object, and I went on and then danced with the Ballet Rambert and then joined the Royal Ballet. There went from the quarter ballet up to a principal. And I have to say, I'm so looking forward to coming back to Pittsburgh because I was last here in 1954. There are probably not many of your grandparents were even born then. But that was on tour with the Royal Ballet, and then of course it's a mixture. Then I became a choreographer and
I
worked.
wanted to ask you about that. I wanted to ask you, how do you, when you are starting to work a full-length ballet, what is your choreographic process? How do you go about starting from the beginning?
From the very beginning, it's the music. It's the music. I've done several ballets to commission scores, and you never know really what's coming, and that's quite risky. And some of those risks I haven't really enjoyed. But when you take a full-length ballet, a full score, a classical score, that's it. You absorb the music, imagine the steps, and it goes on from there. And then you get to the studio with a broad conception of what you want and present it to the dancers, and the dancers do it. It doesn't look good on them. They suggest something, it looks wonderful on them, and it's a joint collaboration. But the music is everything.
Yeah. Can you tell us, as one last question, which is, can you tell us something about the Sleeping Beauty, of your version of the Sleeping Beauty, that we wouldn't know?
Well, really, you would know quite a lot, because it's Petitpal's masterpiece, it's Tchaikovsky's masterpiece, and I just have ideas, having danced it throughout my career. I always felt I wanted to do this there and this there, and so I did. Not all the ballet, all the choreographer that I danced, a lot of it was by Ashton, de Valois, and so I felt some freedom in adding some bits. For example, the famous waltz, the Sleeping Beauty waltz.
Yeah.
Well, that's been done in Petersburg. They have 150 dancers doing it. Ashton had 16 girls doing it. I have 16 mixed sex doing it.
I want to tell the audience one thing about your Sleeping Beauty that they wouldn't know, which is Carabosse actually flies. So our Carabosse here will be flying in the air. Isn't that right, Ronnie?
Exactly.
Yeah.
The wicked fairy, Carabosse, she flies.
Yeah.
Some of her little the lilac fairy, who is the good fairy, some of her little friends, they will also fly.
Fly.
So we've got, I think that's essential in a fairy tale, if possible, to make it fly. Yeah.
Ronnie, thank you so much. Everybody, please.
Okay.
So our next choreographer is Helen Pickett, and she's from San Diego. She is an award-winning contemporary ballet choreographer and has created over 50 ballets in 16 years in the United States and Europe, including a new full-length ballet, The Crucible, which I'm dying to bring here, but Scottish Ballet has to bring it here first, at the Edinburgh Festival, and they call that a blazing interpretation of the story, and it also feels like it has the potential to become a modern classic. So women like Helen are creating new stories, as well as men, but creating new stories for our modern worlds. She also is the resident choreographer of Atlanta Ballet. She's choreographed for American Ballet Theater, Boston Ballet, of course, for us, which you will see at the August Wilson Center, Kansas City Ballet, Jacob Pillow, and Cincinnati Ballet, and also has future commissions for the National Ballet of Canada, Boston Ballet, Dutch National Ballet, and Dutch National Ballet has commissioned a new full length, so we'll be excited to see that. So, as I said, the Exiled is an award-winning piece of choreography, and one of the things they said about her, this piece. It says, Pickett seems to perfectly achieve what she set out for, a work exposing the intricacies of human existence, in particular, the use of the spoken word, a wonderfully crafted tool in the hands of Pickett, drawing viewers farther into this otherworldly situation that revealed the truly ambiguous nature of good and evil. So, Miss Pickett, how did you get into ballet?
Hello, I was muted. Thank you, first of all. It's just really wonderful to be here with everyone. So thank you. This is going to be a short story, but my mother won tickets to the Nutcracker as she was laying the kitchen floor in our new home when I was 8 years old. And she and I went to the Nutcracker in San Diego, California, and I came out brimming with ideas of what I was going to do when I was a ballerina. And one of them was I was never going to leave Point. I was really disappointed that the women didn't do everything on Point. So that was my proclamation. I soon found out that would never happen. So that's how I started. And then I trained in San Diego and then with San Francisco Ballet School. And that's where I met Bill Forsyth, and I danced with him, William Forsyth, in Frankfurt for 11 years, that was my professional career. It was entirely with Bill, other than some court of ballet work that I did with San Francisco Ballet when I was still in the school. So that was my trajectory.
So Helen, can you tell us about your choreographic process?
Yes, thank you. Similar to Ron, music is a main inspiration. And as I started getting more interested in narrative, it became music and the word. So within the play or the book. For the Crucible, it was new music. So I only got music piecemeal. And so I was really relying on the words in the book to bring about momentum and how I would create the scenes. And I knew with the Crucible, for example, that this play felt like a roller coaster, the whole theme of it. Also, when it was written during the McCarthy era, there was a lot of energy within this play. And that was something I really keyed into. It is similar with the Exiled. It is a one act, about 25 minutes, inspired by the one act play No Exit by Jean-Paul Sartre. And so there's a lot of velocity, and plays tend to have more velocity within the text. That for me, that's how I see the movement, and that's how I see the scenes taking place. This particular music is by an award-winning American composer, John Corigliano, and it's primarily from 3 of his films. The music, the tracks are from The Violin, Revolution, and Altered States. So process, and it's also, just to get back to that, process is always about the people in the room. So it's the relationships that we create together in the room to create this new work, because without the people in the room and the individuals, and that's key to when we create together, is how much of that human being can we bring out and bring to the stage. Because as a spectator now, that's who I connect with. I connect with people who are very connected to themselves, their idea of what they're doing, the fortitude in their technique, how they describe with their body. So people forward, music, words on the page. That is how I would describe my process.
Thank you so much, Helen. Let's all give a round of applause. Thank you, thank you. Now on to Michael Pink. So Michael is the longest serving artistic director in Milwaukee Ballet history. He's been in place since 2002. His artistic vision for the Milwaukee Ballet is exciting and challenging. In fact, his production of Peter Pan was signified as a landmark for the company's history and was also broadcast by PBS. And so was his production of Romeo and Juliet, broadcast by MPBS. He's an international choreographer whose theatrical productions of Dracula, Esmeralda, Swan Lake, Giselle, Sleeping Beauty, etc., have been hailed as classical ballet for the 21st century. His professional work, 1914, was nominated for a West End Theatre Award in London. And he's also the founding director of Ballet Central in London. He also served as an associate artistic director for Northern Ballet. So I wanted to just give you a little bit of the review from the Milwaukee magazine about Dracula. The headline says, Milwaukee Ballet's spine-chilling Dracula is eternally ageless. Then it talks about the dancers. Most notable among the dancers, aside from the technical brilliance, is their keen ability to convey a story. This one adapted from Bram Stoker's iconic 1897 novel. Pink's talent for translating a nuanced narrative with movement is unparalleled, particularly when he's blessed with an original score by composer Philip Feeney, a trusted collaborator for more than 3 decades. Dracula was one of their first major full-length ballet productions together. Movement and music are so symbiotic in this production and naturally intertwined, it would be easy to believe that this ballet has just been created. Welcome, Michael.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I'd like to ask you how you also got into ballet.
Well, I grew up, well, firstly, thank you for inviting me, and thank you for inviting Dracula to come and visit with you. I'm sure you will enjoy his visitation. I started, my parents were in amateur theatre, so we have a thing in England called the Amateur Operatic and Dramatic Societies, in which local people come together and create performances. So I grew up in that was in my house. And I asked my mother one day about dance, and she said, it's an incredibly difficult and demanding thing. And I said, I'd like to see some. So she took me to a local performance, and I said I would like to try and do that. And the ballet teacher at that time flatly refused to let me anywhere near it because I was a boy and they were unreliable and not to be taken seriously. She relented finally when I kept knocking on her door and said, just give me a chance. And 2 years later, Ursula Morton was out and about in England talent scouting, and she saw me in a showcase performance, and the very next year I started at the Royal Ballet School, and so I went from there. And then I joined London Festival Ballet in '75. I had the great privilege of working with Ronnie. I was a part of his production of Nutcracker originally, and also Rosalinda, so we go back a long way. And that was it. And then 10 years later, I stopped because I thought this was rather silly. And I wasn't really sure what I was doing there in the first place. And I knew that I wanted to get back to live theatre and musicals. And that's what I did until I met Christopher Gable, who shared the same ideas that I did, that dance could be so much more than just the physical, athletic, technical part of it. And at that time, we forged a really close alliance until Christopher became the artistic director of Northern Ballet Theatre. And that is where this production of Dracula really came about. And it was the combined creation of Christopher's imagination, myself, Bram Stoker's, Philip Feeney, the composer, and of course, Les Brotherston, who is just an incredible designer. This was one of his first major works. And who would have known 25 years later, this would still be a very popular piece. Kansas City are actually performing it this week. And it's a pleasure. It's always a pleasure to bring this production to companies, because it really does call upon them to do exactly what Helen's saying, what Ronnie's saying. It calls upon them to be so much more than just incredible athletes. It calls upon them to be very thoughtful actors that have integrity and really make a commitment to, as much commitment to the role that they're playing and the story they're telling. And that's the single reason that I remained in this profession, was to tell really powerful stories in nonverbal theater.
Well, you're very good at it. So actually, you had answered all my questions within your discussion, so I thank you so much for being with us. We can't wait to work with you. We can't wait to work with all of our choreographers when they come to PBT next year. So thank you so much for being here with us. Also, I just want to say, again, there is something for everyone in this next season, and subscribers can actually purchase your tickets now, and single tickets will go on sale on August 31st. And also, I would like to, again, thank you, Charles Segerston, for being here. He's our concertmaster in the PBT Orchestra. And you will follow Tanaz downstairs to receive your media kit and also look at some additional costumes. So thank you all for being here, and we look forward to seeing you this year and next year. Thank you.
Thank you so much,
Bye.
Susan.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Appreciate you all.
Ronnie, Lulu,
Bye.
fantastic to see you.
Thank you.
We'll Zoom another time.
Bye, Michael.
Is Jane
Bye-bye.
okay in York?
Hi, everyone.
She's not in
Hello,
water.
darling.
Thank you so
Yes.
much, everyone.
Yes, she is. She's with some very close friends there. So, and with my daughter. So they're having.
And safe, because we've seen terrible pictures of the flooding there.
Oh no, we're used to the
Thank
flooding.
you.
Hi, everyone.
Bye
Actually,
bye.
Goodbye.
Before you leave us,
Oh,
if
actually, you know what? Denise said there's time for a Q&A. If you wouldn't mind staying on for a little bit more time. I thought we were running out of time, but if you can stay, we'd love a little bit of a Q&A.
we'd love you to stay for Q&A. Thank you so much. Susan, bravo to Susan Jaffe for putting together such an amazing season. We are so fortunate to have you, Susan.
Oh, thank you.
And just your guidance, just your insight. And again, thank you so much to our choreographers who've been here. Thank you so much to our wonderful executive director, Harris Ferris. We are so lucky to have you as well. And I also really want to thank everybody who's helped us put today together. Our production team, our amazing marketing team, bravo, especially our PR manager, Jenna Bodnar.
Brand new.
Brand new.
Yeah.
Our amazing Tanaz Walanjevich. You are stunning. Thank you so much. Jamie, Aviana, everybody who's been here, our development team, just thank you so much for everything that you've done. And thank you to those of you who are here. So just to open it up for Q&A, are there any questions? We've got about 5 minutes, 3 or 4 minutes or so for questions. And if you do have a question, if you would just raise your hand. And Curtis or Lish, would we like them to, I can actually repeat the question if you have it. Don't all jump at once. It could be a question about the season that you have, maybe a follow-up question for one of the choreographers. Jennifer, I see you.
Mine is more of a statement following up on what Tori said.
Yes.
Excited to see, for those of us who've been coming for a long time, to see a different version of the same ballet.
Oh,
I think
yes.
That's something to really look forward to in Dracula and the City.
Thank you, Jennifer. That was Jennifer Klemcek. She is one of our wonderful supporters, mother of one of our students here at the PBT school. She just mentioned how exciting it would be to see different renditions of some of the shows that we're bringing back, like Dracula, like The Sleeping Beauty. So thank you, Jennifer.
And Jane had a question.
And Jane. Hi, Jane. Yes.
This is for Susan. Last year you really focused on women choreographers. What is your focus this year? If I missed it, I apologize.
No, thank you for that question. So I think what I really wanted to do was bring in sort of more international choreographers and also choreographers who have been award-winning and people who, like Michael, who's also bringing in new versions of these story ballets. I also, one of my favorite ways to see a program is to see mixture of classical and contemporary, although I do sort of look at the August Wilson as a place where It has more contemporary, a little bit more gritty choreography. So I like to use that as sort of the innovation place for our audiences to go see and also capture new audience members. So for me, a whole year of deeply classic work like The Sleeping Beauty, like George Balanchine's Theme and Variations, and then to see how those ballets have morphed into the innovation of today. So you're going to see, as well as from also narrative work with the spoken word in Helen's piece, for example. So you're really going to go through an entire history of dance through this year. I love to show the beauty of the classics and also to show where, not only are we going, but how much further we're going to be able to go into the future. So you're going to see a huge range of choreography this year.
Thank you. Do we have any more questions?
We have a question in the chat that is for Michael. Can you describe a bit of the look of your Dracula?
Can you describe the look of your Dracula, Michael?
So yeah, it's again, it's taken from the book. It's very gothic. It's costuming by Les Brotherston. The scenery is very gothic. It's the type of piece that utilizes its scenery. It's on different levels, and so we really do travel from the Waterloo Station to Transylvania to Count Dracula's castle, all by just a swift change of bits of scenery. And then we end up in the second act in the seaside town of Whitby, where Dracula comes to visit young Lucy. And so we have this opulent Victorian tea room, and that takes us to a sanatorium, and we end our journey in the crypt of Carfax Abbey. So we have our undead emerging from all of the catacombs that are created on stage. It's a heavy period piece with all of the costuming and all of the effects and props.
Thank you. Any other questions?
The ballet that features the narrative, is that a skill that comes quickly for the dancers? Are they used to that? Have they been trained in that, or is that something new for them?
I'm going to let Helen answer that question. Did you hear the question? Are dancers trained with the speaking voice, or is that something they have to train in doing?
So we're going to train, we have to train it a bit. I also, after I retired from dancing, I went into acting, and I was a speaker also with William Forsythe during my career. So this idea of narrative, of spoken word on stage with dance is something that I have known since I was 19, since I joined Frankfurt Ballet. And none of us were trained before we were given opportunities at Text, but Bill did work with us. Similarly, I will work with, so I've written the text, and I will work with the dancers on how to activate different timbres or timbres in your voice, how to project. They will be mic'd, so that projection won't be as much of a problem. But it's also how to, as one does with choreography, and I always bring it back to dance, how one punctuates when one dances. Where do we put the commas and the periods and the exclamation points? And then we just put that onto the text. So I make it, I create a situation where it feels comfortable. It's just a different kind of choreography. We're using our voice. So I'm coming, actually, Susan, to be with you for 2 days prior.
She's stealing 2 days of my Swan Lake rehearsal. Thanks, Helen.
You're welcome. Yeah, as friends do, as friends do. So I'll be working with the dancers then on text, and I will come another time before we actually get on stage, and in addition to the choreography, to work again. So we will work extra time on text. Thank you.
So it looks like we have run out of time. Thank you so much for being here. And again, you can follow Tanaz down for the press kits and some additional costumes. Thank you very much. And thank you, choreographers, for being here. We appreciate it.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, Susan.
Bye, Susan. Bye, Susan. Bye, Michael.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Ron. Nice
Bye
to
bye.
meet
Bye bye.
you.
Bye.
Bye.
Take care.
Did they-